The West Virginia Mountaineers have great and many needs when it comes to our Christmas shopping list, but what are some of those things under Rich Rod's tree? A new offensive line coach, a new running backs coach, and how soon could they be coming? We talk about all that and more on this one.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia, baby, where we're talking about the Mountaineers on the football side of things today, and happy to be doing so. Thank you so much, guys, for being in here with me, as I am not in the original spot. As you can see, I am on the road at a family member's house. So bear with me, guys, as we dive into another episode today, talking a little bit about everything. Obviously, on this one, guys, just ask for your patience as we try to I'm not in my normal surroundings, so it's kind of got me off guard a little bit. This episode is going to be brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. And right now with FanDuel, $5 if you take it, it's going to make you holla. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com, place your live NFL bets all season long. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. All right, guys. So figured I would do kind of a fun episode here this afternoon. Didn't have a whole lot of time to do prep work, research. So I'm kind of banking off some things I kind of already know. There is some stuff out there. Obviously, every day players are going into the portal. We're monitoring that situation. We're monitoring the connections between coaches and players, and we're trying to keep up with it, but it's a lot. And there's really not going to be a whole lot of movement till January 2nd anyways. So all we can do is monitor it, and it will ramp up as we get past Christmas. So keep that in mind. We're going to be having a bit of a dead couple of weeks, I would imagine, as far as news goes. This time last year, we had a coaching search going on, so things were much more advanced as far as the amount of shows we can do, the things we can speculate on. So we're trying to get our 2 episodes a day in. It ain't easy, guys. I'll tell you that now. On this one, we're going to be talking about, I have some final thoughts about the basketball team I want to get to. And we're going to talk about the impact JUCOs. 11 JUCO players coming into the Mountaineers this offseason. They're all pretty good. Some are elite. What kind of impact can they make in Morgantown? But we start where we start. What are the presents under Rich Rod's tree? If we could will them into existence, what does that look like? And what is the likelihood of some of those things happening, i.e. running backs coach, i.e. offensive line coach? Obviously, we know we're going to get them, but who could they be and in what capacity, right? So let's dive into it, guys. I've got 8 presents under Rich Rod's tree that I wanted to get to. Obviously, number 1 is an O-line coach, just my opinion. Jack McNeil Jr.'s 1-year experiment has been a total flop. His history of short stints and unit turmoil like that Steelers mess, which I brought up multiple times. I know we're supposed to be nice to people this time kind of year, but it's probably a good time to reference this article again. This dude sucked. Former Steelers offensive lineman talks utter turmoil. Former coach Jack McNeil Jr. brought to Pittsburgh. As if you ever want to check that article out, I do think it's worth a read. If that's not enough for you, we can go into his head coaching stints. Head coach at Louisiana Tech, where he was 43-52 from 99 to 06. Or what about the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line during the Killer Bees era, where he was the worst offensive line coach that Ben Roethlisberger ever had and was sacked the most in his career than when he was there. What about the Wisconsin offensive line coach, where the Badgers offense created his lowest scoring output in nearly 2 decades? He's got a pattern of 1-year stops and quick exits, being a bridge guy, whether that's Auburn in 2020, Louisville in 2021, North Carolina in 2022, Wisconsin in 2023, West Virginia in 2024, and everywhere in between. Jack McNeil is he's a nomad. He bounces around, almost stealing money at this point in his career in my opinion, and could be one of the worst kept secrets in all of college football when it comes to offensive line coaches. I've learned so much about him this year. What came into the year with some optimism, hey, anytime you hear the Wisconsin offensive line coaches on their way, you feel pretty good about it. And then we found out right away this guy was going to be stubborn right up until the very end, including putting out guys like Walter Youngbear and Kimo Makaniole, though some of the worst graded guards in all college football, into the lineup all the way into the week 12. So to say that the offensive line coach is a need, and perhaps the biggest offseason need, is an understatement. And I think at the end of the day, if you can get somebody in, whether that is a Ron Crook, right? Whether that is a guy like, obviously Rick Trickett, right, is probably the best short-term solution. Obviously, you want to pony up and give a guy like Garen Justice the money and titles that he wants, you could probably make it happen, but it would take an arm and a leg. It would take so much that it may hurt the program, So you had to factor that in. And there are other guys out there that I know that people just don't know about yet that they do, obviously. I'm a big – I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this, but Terry Heffernan, who is the offensive line coach at Virginia, is he's one of my favorite offensive line coaches in the country. And you look at the turnaround Virginia's had this year, and you look at the way he recruited last year, he was able to get all first-team ACC left tackle to transfer there from Louisville. He was able to get a bunch of guys in. Seemed like every offensive line we went up, it was either Cal or Virginia, and we were going head-to-head against them, and he won a lot of those battles. Will Reed himself, who we got, and eventually with the Georgia Tech, told me he was an elite recruiter, and he's turned out to be that. So I would like to see him personally, but I haven't seen anybody mention him, and I don't think it's much of a likelihood. I would say at this point, don't count out Rick Trickett. I've heard a couple of things here in the last month or so that even though you guys, I know everybody knows the story. He's denied it several times and said he doesn't want to coach in this era where players are making more than him. Things have changed a little bit. His son is now the position coach, the quarterback's coach at Arkansas. His other son is at West Virginia and needs help. So I do think that, Coach Trickett is a family man first. My sources are telling me that he's still very much in shape, does a lot of exercises. I don't want to get into specifics because that may out them. But yeah, like the things that Coach Trickett does to keep himself in shape. He's not your typical 8-year-old guy. I do think he's got another year or two that he could really contribute at a high level. Dick Van Dyke's doing interviews around the country right now. He's 100 years old. So some people age differently. And I think Coach Trickett's one of those guys. He's just a tough old codger. He's a West Virginian. He's not going to be one of those guys that ages not gracefully. He's going to age gracefully. And I'd fully expect him to be in the running for this job. As a matter of fact, if he wants it, it's probably his. There's a couple other guys that you can look to, but overall, he's the number one, in my opinion, most likely. And then you get into some other guys and you're speculating at that point. So running backs coach is obviously on this list too. We'll get there in a second. Number two is the offensive line itself. Obviously, this unit's been a patchwork nightmare in 2025. When you bring in guys like Malik Agbo, you bring in a guy like Tykees Crawford, who has shown flashes. I mean, all these guys shown flashes, but this group as a whole surrendered almost 3 sacks per game, and that's with mobile quarterbacks back there. They failed to open lanes in the running game. You dropped to 112th nationally in rushing, and you ran the ball a whole hell of a lot. Guys like Donovan Haslam, Josh Isosa rotated in due to injuries, but it was mostly just an inconsistent mess of a room. Penalties galore, PFF grades hovering in the 50s that killed drives and just give this offense much of a chance. Landon Livingston and Nick Cray were two that you can salvage out of this room and set to return as potential anchors with over 700 snaps next year. But, man, because they were in the 60s in their PFF grades, so you could see improvement, especially with better players around them. But, man, the guards just killed us last year. Kimo Makaniole was the worst-rated guard in all of college football, dead last. dead total last guard rated in college football. So the numbers speak for themselves there. I don't want to beat the kid up any more than I already have. Walter Youngbear is in the low. I think he's in the 200s last time I looked, which is like that. Just think about that. Think about how many schools you got to get through to get to the 200s. It's crazy. Obviously, the level of talent is not equal across all those teams. And so he's probably not literally the 200 worst, but I mean, as far as among P4, yeah, the worst. So I think a dominant O-line is number 2 wish. You're just not going to get anywhere in a Rich Rod era without that, right? So those are my thoughts on it. Let's go to break. We'll come back and we'll talk about a few other presents under Rich Rod's tree that we could will into existence, and we'll talk about those JUCO players too. Stick around on this episode of Locked On West Virginia. We'll be right back. Of course, this episode is going to be brought to you by our friends at Omaha Steaks. Guys, it's perfect time to give Omaha Steaks away. It's gifting season after all. And if you didn't know, now you do. Omaha Steaks is crushing it right now. The holidays are here, and whether you're hosting family, planning the perfect gift, or just trying to make things simple and delicious, Omaha Steaks is making it easier than ever, from effortless holiday entertainment to unforgettable gifts. Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience straight to your door. And what makes it even better? Omaha Steaks, well, you know exactly what you're getting, right? And what you're gifting. USDA certified tender steaks, premium proteins, gourmet sides, decadent desserts, which is a very fun thing to say, and make anybody you give this to is going to feel really appreciated, right? I love it. So I love how easy it is to gift as well. It shows up frozen, beautifully packaged, ready to cook. That's the definition of simplicity. They have so many options as well: steaks, burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, desserts, something for every kind of holiday gathering. And it's become one of my favorite last minute gifts because it feels thoughtful without requiring any stress. Save big on gourmet gifts today as holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for an extra $35 off. Use promo code college at checkout where the terms apply, and see the website for details. It's segment 2. Let's crack a do. Jumping into some more presents, or as we say in my family, presidents for Rich Rod under his tree. Santa baby, put a na. Okay, I'll quit torturing you guys. Obviously, a running backs coach is, it's in the top 3, right? And I know people are like, "Where's quarterback?" It's coming. Calm down, Larry. So obviously, West Virginia loses running backs coach Larry Porter to Auburn after 1 year. Room's kind of gutted. Jaheim White's going to hit the transfer portal amid injuries as well. 2025 production cratered, right? 140 yards a game, despite talents like Dior Hubbard that flashed some potential. Porter's SEC pedigree, I didn't translate like I was hoping, but it's not all his fault. It all started up front, and then it trickled back to the just really injured running backs group. So with this group lacking the cohesion it did, kind of fumbling in short yardage situations, there was a lot going on there. Rich Rod spread needs a ground game that can hammer people, right? And so with this under the tree surprise, a dynamic coach and recruiter, and a veteran coach from a run-heavy powerhouse to restore the old days that we were so used to having. And hopefully we can get our backs getting back to the chunk yardage plays that we used to see under all of those all-time greats. So obviously the big rumor right now is J1 Sider, who was in Morgantown or Cheat Lake yesterday, visiting most likely family, as I said on the show yesterday. I guess I caught some heat for doing that episode. People thought it was too speculative. I thought it was pretty upfront in the opening of the show. I said, hey, let's speculate, right? It's the first thing I said. But it was kind of weird that he played Rod's Wave. You know what I mean? Like as a song, I thought that was interesting. It's something to consider. You would have to obviously pony up for J1 Sider. I have no doubts. But in a situation where he is available potentially, then you have to at least try, right? So we're kind of hoping that that happens for us. But like I said earlier, I'm not under any delusion that we can afford both an elite O line coach and an elite running backs coach, but it's on the list now. Coach McDowell at Marshall is probably maybe a better overall fit, or not fit, but more likely fit. Sure, Chad Scott probably still on the list as well, but absolutely there are guys that you can look at and say, okay, maybe they're a little bit cheaper and better fit for now. Moving on to a number 4, an elite running quarterback. Obviously, that's probably could have been higher, but obviously the room was a carousel of inconsistency last year. Nico Markell's mobility went to 0, and Scotty Fox struggled in the last couple games on and off. I'm a Scotty Fox guy. I do think that you go into next year giving him an advantage to win the job, but I don't see why, unless you just have the ability to get somebody elite. If you can get somebody elite, then you just do it. You just do it. I know that there are people that hate that. They love to represent Scotty, and I'm with you. But I do think that getting somebody elite, if you can, that's what all the big time programs are doing right now. Oklahoma, Oregon, USC, they're done recruiting high school quarterbacks for the most part, although Oregon just did a high school quarterback, I think, in Dante Moore, but that's an elite once in a generation 5-star. Like, it's either that or you're going portal, right? So I think West Virginia, we would like to get there. I mean, I'm not saying I'm against developing a quarterback either if you can make it work. Obviously, Rich Rod's system's a little different, but, there are a ton of dudes out there that Rich Rod can make work as well. I just saw another HBCU guy today that had just incredible running stats and stuff. Like, there are always going to be guys like that fit Rich Rod's offense that wouldn't fit, Oklahoma State's offense that tosses it around everywhere. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on it. But I do think an elite running quarterback is something that you just can't get over or past when it comes to Rich Rod and company. Number 5, gift under the tree, the culture needs to be set right. Obviously, Rich Rod's return aimed to reignite the old Mountaineer fire from 05 to 08. Soft practices became hard edge practices. The team finished obviously with, I think, no identity. We're losing 30 seniors. We've got a bunch of guys back, but how many of them are actually going to stay? I've pinpointed at least 25 or 30 that I think you make really good offers to and that could help move you forward into the next, genre of whatever you want to say, Rich Rod's tenure at West Virginia. But certainly I do know that it's going to be take some time to get the culture where he really, truly actually wants it. And maybe will be one more year before you can do that. But, it's a different kind of thing, right? Obviously, you've got a huge recruiting class this year that hopefully is going to set that in sooner rather than later. A lot of those guys are coming in early enrollees, but it's something to monitor. Secondary depth is obviously another big piece of this. You need some corners. The defensive backfield got exposed in 2025, 118th in pass defense, and injuries thinned the ranks and big plays hemorrhaged over and over again. Opponents averaged 8.2 yards per attempt in our losses. So Zach Alley's scheme needs versatile pieces. We need guys that are big, tall, physical, like everybody else. And we need guys that are already on the roster to step up. That's just flat out the truth. We need to improve pass rush. I think we did okay at times last year. It's like we had 6 sacks or 7 sacks in a game, or we had none. I think we had 6 or 7 against Houston. We had 6 or 7 against Pitt. And outside of that, it was a no-show at times. It was so weird. So that's another part. We also need a strong recruiting class in the portal, right? We need to I really do feel like we need to get into the top 3 or 4 of the Big 12 in the portal. I mean, class rankings don't always matter, but I mean, if you can get 12 to 15 really good players, You think you're working with close to a million, maybe a little more than a million for each player. That's really good. So that's what we're hoping happens. Certainly, nothing is a given. Going to break one more time. We're coming back and talking about these JUCO players really quick before we let you out of here on Locked On West Virginia. Stick around. Of course, we can't forget about our friends at FanDuel right now, guys. And look, when it comes to FanDuel, it's a pretty simple thing as well. Right now with FanDuel's NFL Sunday moves fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's why making live betting with FanDuel is so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when it comes to the game and when it starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. Live spreads and money lines do adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can you can bet on next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long today on FanDuel. The game moves fast, but so can you. All right, guys. Let's jump back into the JUCO portion of the program here. And thank you guys all for coming in here this early afternoon. I appreciate it. Wasn't expecting so many to show up for the earlier show, but that's good. Yeah, I realize somebody in the comments is saying Rod Wave is the artist, Cold December is the song. I get that. I'm just saying it's Rich Rod, and he chose the song Rod Wave. It's just a small thing. It's really not a big deal, but you know, I was just looking for. I thought maybe it was a little Easter egg. You never know, right? I mean, whenever you're speculating, things like that are fun. This JUCO class, there's a ton of guys in here I think can make some impacts. We're going to go over the list of guys and have a couple of things on each one. Keon Hutchins is a wide receiver that can take the top off the defense at 6 feet, 178. He was rated number 7 nationally in receiving yards, tied for 13th in touchdowns, number 23 in receptions, and part of a 10-1 team that won the MACCC championship. He's got elite 4.2 speed, according to his profile. He's a physical playmaker, really strong route runner, top 5 JUCO wide receiver by all the scouting services. Should be able to make an impact right away. Deshaun Woods is a 6'5", 295-pound offensive tackle from Butler Community College. Another guy, he started on an offensive line that paved the way for 2,000 rushing yards. So he's a guy that you look to and can make an impact. Damari Williams is a safety that's 6'1", 201, 39 tackles, 2 interceptions on the year. He's another versatile defensive back. I think could make an impact as well from Coffeyville Community College. We get to my guy, Jalen Thomas, 6'3", 310 pounds. What can you say about Jalen Thomas, man? This dude is a freak show. I mean, he is a nose tackle. 19 tackles on the year, nothing crazy. 3 tackles for loss. He played in 12 games, was part of 10-2 team as well. But, man, is he physically imposing, and he's really big and strong and quick. But, I mean, when he locks people out, they stay locked out. He is a really good player. Remember the name Jalen Thomas. Martavis Boswell is another one, guys, of just a ridiculously fast running back, 5'9", 175, can really run, explosive, 10.8 track speed, and it shows on the field, 22 miles an hour on the gun. Another guy that's like, wow. Darius Wiley, 6'7", 250 pounds, and the pass rushing JUCO defensive lineman. I really like him as well, but I'm not sure about him making an immediate impact. Kedrick Triplett, we know all about him. Another guy that was a big-time JUCO wide receiver, 4.35, 40-yard dash, according to his profiles. You got really good run and catch ability. absorbs contact really well. He's got a sturdy frame, and he excels in breaking routes, slants, bubbles, and etc. Ranked a top eight JUCO overall, and he's a matchup problem, right? So I think he's a guy. KJ Henson, 6'4", 275 defensive lineman. I really like. We broke him down a couple of days ago. 42 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 2 pass breakups, a forced fumble in only 10 games, and he is really disruptive from the interior. I compared him to Dante Stills. That's the kind of profile he has, as a 6'4", 260, 270 that can really move around a little bit. So he's a guy. Damon Allen at 6'3" corner. You got Rayshawn Reynolds, another 6'3" corner, and you've got Jeremiah Johnson, a 6'2" edge player. All three of these guys have a chance to make impacts as well, especially when you look at the corners in Zach Alley's room. I think he's got a chance. He wants those guys to be big. These guys are big. He wants them to be able to run a little bit. These guys can both run a little bit. They've got long arms, that all you need. So there's a lot to like about this JUCO's class specifically, and I'm really excited about the potential of them, guys. So thanks for being here. Not a whole lot else to talk about, really. I got to kind of get moving. I'm here to do some Christmas shopping. I decided to record so I wouldn't have to worry about it until later potentially, but wanted to get a video out. And so thank you guys so much for listening in on this episode. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and don't forget about the Everydayer Club. And we'll talk to you on the next one, guys. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. And we will talk to you guys on the next one. Remember this, though. You don't ever want to forget to cue those country roads. See you next time.